In letter A, we have 2 pi times the square root of 4.5 times 10 to the negative 2 divided by 2.0 times 10 to the 3. I'll show you various ways that you can put this into your calculator. Please feel free to pause or rewind the video or zoom into the video to see the specific calculator keystrokes. Let's begin. Now, one way we could do this is we could put it in just like we see it. 2 pi. Now, this one right here has a pi button. So 2 pi times the square root. Now, to get the square root, I have to hit second function, my x squared, and square root pops up on the screen with an open parentheses. Now I'm going to type in this number here, 4.5, second function EE. Now when the E pops up on the screen, that is my times 10 to the negative 2, divided by 2.0 times 10 to the 3. Don't forget to close the parentheses, and we get 0.0298. Forget about those other digits. We're only taking this to 4 decimal places. Okay, that's one way we could do this. Now let's say we use the same calculator but worked it backwards, meaning what if we take 4.5 times 10 to the negative 2 divided by 2.0 times 10 to the 3, then square root, then times 2 pi. You do it that way too. 4.5 times 10 to the negative 2 divided by 2.0 times 10 to the 3, enter. Square root, we have to go second function square to get the square root. Second function answer. I don't want to type in that answer I just got, so I'm going to put in for the answer button, and I'm taking the square root of the previous calculation. My last step is to multiply by 2 pi. So times, my previous answer is multiplied times 2 pi. And we still get the same thing, 0.0298. Let's see how that looks with a variety of other calculators. Let's say we work with a Casio. For this one, same deal. If I work from the inside out, 4.5 times 10 to the x. There's your the scientific notation button. Your negative is over here, negative 2, divided by 2.0 times 10, divided by 2.0 times 10 to the 3. Enter. Square root, answer, times 2. Now pi is right here. It's above the times 10 to the x. You have to go shift to get it. And we still get 0.0298. If we worked with this older model of Casio, same thing. I'm going to start with the front and work my way back. So 2 pi is down here above exp, shift pi. Square root. If I put the square root, I need to put times because the calculator recognizes that things that are put together are being multiplied. I need to open parentheses, 4.5. exp is my times 10. That's my scientific notation. To the negative on the far left side, 2 divided by 2.0 times 10 to the 3. Close parentheses. And we're getting the same exact result. One more time. This time we'll do this with a backward calculator. Backwards calculators are one in which we have to push the keystrokes of the numbers, then the buttons. So numbers, then functions are backward calculators. So 4.5 EE is your times 10 to the negative 2 divided by 2.0 times 10 to the 3. Enter. Square root. Now to multiply times 2 pi, we have to go times 2 equals times pi equals, and we're getting the exact same result. Letter B, we're going to go 1/2 times 6.6 times 10 to the negative 2 times 2.11 times 10 to the 4 squared. Again, we can put it in just like we see it. For the half, we'll put in 0.5 times 6.6 times 10 to the 2, parentheses, which means times again, 2.11 times 10 to the 4, close parentheses, but then we have to remember to hit the x squared button, right? Don't forget the square. And we get 1.4691, you can just say 1.47, round that up to 7, times 10 to the 11th power. Okay, the other way we can do it is we can take this number, square it, times this number and then take half. So starting here on the right, working left, 2.11 times 10 to the 4 squared. So 2.11 times 10 to the 4 squared times 6.6 times 10 to the 2 equals, and then take half. We're getting the same thing, 1.47 times 10 to the 11. With a backwards calculator, we're going to work this way and then to the left. So 2.11 times 10 to the 4 squared times, let me try that one more time, 2.11 times 10 to the 4 squared times 6.6 times 10 to the 2 divided by 2. Same result. In letter C, we have 9 times 10 to the 9 times 3.2 times 10 to the negative 9 times 9.6 times 10 to the negative 9 divided by 0.32 squared. Now, we can do this all at once, but you have to use parentheses to do it. So I'm going to open up a set of parentheses. I'm going to multiply this, and then close parentheses. So 9 times 10 to the 9 times 3.2 times 10 to the negative 9 times 9.6 times 10 to the negative 9, then close parentheses. Then I'm going to hit my divide button for that big fraction bar, and then I'm going to open up another set of parentheses for that denominator. Open parentheses, 0.32, close parentheses, squared. And we get 2.7 times 10 to the negative 6. Let's see, in a backwards calculator, same thing. 9 times 10 to the 9 times 3.2 times 10 to the negative 9 times 9.6 times 10 to the negative 9. Enter, divide, I'm going to go open parentheses, 0.32, close parentheses, squared. So this number here is just 0.32 squared. I have to remember to hit equals one more time. Okay, now this is actually the same answer as before. The right calculator here. It's the same answer as before. 0.000027 is the same as 2.7 times 10 to the negative 6. This number is in standard decimal form. That's in scientific notation. In letter D, we have 1 over 4.5 times 10 to the 2 plus 1 over 9.4 times 10 to the 2, and then we have to take the inverse of that sum. Well, here's how we're going to do this one. We're going to rewrite this in the calculator as 4.5 times 10 to the 2 inverse. In other words, we're going to use the inverse key because the inverse of 4.5 times 10 to the 2 is 1 over 4.5 times 10 to the 2. So we're going to press the inverse button. On that calculator, it's x to the negative 1. Okay. The other calculator that's backwards would have a 1 over x calculation. So let's take a look at this. We're going to go put this number in first, 4.5 times 10 to the 2, and then we're going to hit our inverse button, plus second number, 9.4 times 10 to the 2, inverse. Then add them up. Now what we did is we added up the sum of these inverses, right? But what that adds to is 1 over r. We were looking for r in this calculation. So how do we go from 1 over r to r? We take the reciprocal again, hit the inverse button one more time after we've added them. And we get about 304. 304.316, whatever. 304, we'll just round it to the nearest whole number. Okay, taking a look at a backwards calculator, 4.5 times 10 to the 2, inverse. Your inverse here is 1 over x key. So inverse plus 9.4 times 10 to the 2 inverse, hit equals to add up those two numbers. Then hit your inverse key one more time to take the reciprocal to get your value for r. You can see we're again getting 304. Letter E. We have 1.7 times 10 to the third minus 3.3 times 10 to the squared over 1.7 times 10 to the third. The easiest way to do this is take this number minus this number, hit equals, and then divide by the bottom number. So 1.7 times 10 to the 3 minus 3.3 times 10 to the 2, enter. We get 1370. Divide that by 1.7 times 10 to the 3, and we get 0.8058, I'll say 0.81 or 0.806. We can round that up. All right, taking a look with a backwards calculator. 1.7 times 10 to the 3 minus 3.3 times 10 to the 2, enter. Divided by 1.7 times 10 to the 3, we're getting the same result. One more time, 1.7 times 10 to the 3 minus 3.3 times 10 to the 2 divided by 1.7 times 10 to the 3, right? 0.806. Letter G. We have 6.63 times 10 to the negative 34. Forget about the units there, right there, the joules, second, and the second. Forget about that. Just put in the numbers. Times 7.09 times 10 to the 6 times 10 to the 14, excuse me. And then once we multiply those two, we're going to hit enter, minus 2.17 times 10 to the negative 19. Let's see how this looks. 6.63 times 10, so E, negative 34, times 7.09 times 10 to the 14, enter. We just multiplied those two numbers together. Minus 2.17 times 10 to the negative 19. And we get 2.53 times 10 to the negative 19. Taking a look one more time with a backwards calculator. 6.63 times 10 to the negative 34 times 7.09 times 10 to the 14, enter, minus 2.17 times 10 to the negative 19. And again, we get 2.53 times 10 to the negative 19.